Guns, rifle raised high, one clean shot, watch the trophy fly. Targets downrange, bullseye hit. Guns don't kill, our spirits lit. Fire, lock and load, let them roar. Shoot it straight, Second Amendment score. Hunt, shoot, rock forever free. Amendment, eternity.
Hey, good evening, everybody. JD here, 701 Nation, episode 7. What's up, Josh Patterson? Hey, buddy, what's going down? Good evening, my fellow MVE, Brian Warner, Waylon Turnus. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Waylon. Thanks for jumping on right away here, guys. Got a pretty good show lined up tonight, I do believe. Depends on how I run it, I guess. Later on, I'll tell you right now, later on in the show, last half hour, if you saw the promo to it, Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director, is going to join me for 30 minutes. I think Jeb's going to get on about 8:45, talking some North Dakota deer numbers. Had him scheduled once before, but something came up. Jeb couldn't make it, but Jeb's coming on tonight. So get ready to do some deer talk here with the North Dakota Game and Fish Director. Appreciate him coming on. Good evening, 701 Nation. Good evening to you, One Shot Cap. Thanks for getting on, buddy. Appreciate that. So we're going to start the show off. Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren. We all know Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts is going to introduce the Stop the Militarization of Our Streets Act. Yeah, I'll let you know what that's all about. Not what she's calling it. Background check numbers for February 2026. We'll go through those. Gun sales, compared to last year, we up, we down, same, close. I'll let you know about that one. That's from National Shooting Sports Foundation, their NEEKS numbers. And then Rhode Island, as we hear about this, right? Last week we were talking about Virginia doing the assault weapons ban. Oops, there, okay. And Rhode Island already has one of these, right? But they got the grandfather clause in there. Gun owners are getting bad news probably coming down the pipe about that. And then we go top 5 selling suppressors from February of 2026. I think that's from guns.com. I got that. And then after that, we're going to have Jeb on. If we don't get through everything until Jeb gets on, we'll hit it after he's got to go, or maybe we will, and we'll be talking about other stuff when he gets on. So should be a good show. And then, hey, got the right up there in the corner. See that? They got my Venmo QR code. You want to support the show, scan that. Got a nice donation last week from a show follower there. Appreciate you. You know who we are. Really appreciate it. Helps the show. That's what keeps the show going, man. That's what's going to keep the show going. Like I said before, unless I get some sponsors. But as of right now, I'm not really looking for any as of this moment. I'll gladly take any, but we're running it on that right now. So, all right. 8:04. Going to see if there's anything else I was going to hit on before we got going here. I don't think so, but let's hit it. Let's just get it right out of the gate here. Let's get with this Elizabeth Warren, going with her stop the militarization, or what the heck did I say it was called here? Stop the Militarization of Our Streets Act. So yeah, what's that all about, JD? Let's get to it. So Elizabeth Warren on Thursday, she's going to introduce legislation to stop a U.S. Army-owned ammunition plant from selling military-grade bullets to civilians. Somebody else tried this, I think in Biden's last year. I can't remember who it was, but she's reviving it here, asserting that some are being diverted to arm Mexican drug cartels and have been used in more than a dozen American mass shootings. The Stop Militarizing Our Streets Act, co-sponsored by Senator Andy Kim, huge anti-gunner, and I think he's from California. Representative Robert Garcia, another big anti-gun. These people are all massive leftists. I think this Garcia, I think he's from California too. And then, of course, one of the most loathsome people you'll ever see in Congress, Jamie Raskin. Unfortunately, the same first name as I have, would prohibit Pentagon contractors from selling military-grade assault weapons and ammunition to civilians. So I'm curious, what I know Democrats think everything's an assault weapon, but what would they consider a military grade assault weapon that civilians can buy? I'd be real curious about that one. I real curious what that one would be. Because M4, you can own it. Good evening, Dan Brown. How you doing, buddy? Fellow MVE. He's out there on the western edge. Dan, if you're just catching up, we're talking about the Elizabeth Warren's going to introduce the Stop Militarization of Our Streets Act on Thursday. So yeah, because I mean, if you got to get an M4, you got to have a Class 3, and I don't know one person that has a Class 3 that has an M4, and it's got to be produced. I mean, I don't even think there was M4s before it's got to be made before the 1986 ban came in on them. So I don't know what military grade assault weapon Liz Warren thinks civilians are able to buy right now. Anyways, I will continue here. It would also require that military contractors only sell ammunition to commercial dealers that follow minimum safety practices, such as screening customers and having a low history of gun sales that are later linked to a crime. Like it's the gun shop's fault or the ammunition dealer's fault that some scuzzbag buys ammunition and then goes and uses it in a crime. She's going to screen them and then limit who can sell them, because then they'll put limits on what they think is unacceptable crimes that happen when they bought, like, let's just say they bought it from Mandan Sporting Goods or something. Oh yeah, we noticed that there's been 4 crimes here. That's 2 more than we allowed you to sell ammunition from here, so you're no longer able to do it. It's Anyway, I'm going to go on. The bills take aim at Lake City Army Ammunition Plant in Independence, Missouri, a faculty built during World War II to supply the U.S. military and the largest manufacturer of rifle ammunition for the U.S. Armed Forces. Yeah, man, I do remember that. This for sure. They did try this in Biden's. I should remember who it was. The facility is run by Olin Winchester, part of the Olin Corporation. The Army has a deal with Winchester that whatever ammunition is not purchased by the service can be sold commercially on the civilian market, and it's sold a lot. I mean, it's planking ammo, it's full metal jacket. I think some of it might be like bow tail hollow point. I mean, it ain't as deadly as like a soft point or a ballistic tip, and almost all the time not even close to being as accurate. But Liz Warren and these other people want to ban that. So high-powered 50 cal cartridges that Mexican authorities have seized some cartels were traced to the Lake City plant. Warren said, "Sure, I mean it's a big plant, and we sell ammunition to. I mean, we sell ammunition to the Mexican military, right? Plus, there's an overrun of this 50 cal ammo. It goes into gun shops, and the Mexican cartels bring people up here to illegally purchase it, a straw purchase. You can't stop a straw purchase because somebody send somebody legally to buy it and pass a background check or whatever to buy the ammo. I mean, you can't. What are you going to do to stop it? You're just going to ban it? I mean, because there's crimes with the cartels have crime with them down in Mexico? No. This train of thought is neither Olin nor its subsidiary immediately responded to a request for comment. Warren said in a statement, I'm not going to do you my Liz Warren an imitation either. It's terrible. America's tax dollars should not be used to fuel gun violence. They're not. Congress must step in to keep Americans safe, and that means stopping the U.S. military and giant defense contractors, because everything big, Democrats hate, big business, big corporations, big oil. I mean, but they love it when they get big donations from billionaires on their side. That means stopping the U.S. military and giant defense contractors from selling weapons of war to cartels, criminal groups, and mass shooters that terrorize our communities. So what does that mean? So she's going off a New York Times investigation in 2023, found that AR-15 ammunition produced. It's not AR-15 ammunition. It's freaking 223 5.56 ammo. But they like saying it's AR-15 ammo, right? Because it is the most popular firearm in America, and as such, I guess if they want to call it AR-15 ammo, I don't, but if they want to for this, whatever. Produced at the Lake City plant, has been used in at least a dozen mass shootings since 2012, including the attacks on Aurora, San Bernardino, Las Vegas, Sutherland Springs, Parkland, Buffalo, and Uvalde. Right, because it's probably cheap ammo too, right? Because like I said, it's not very accurate ammunition that I've ever shot. In some fight, but I mean, these losers probably see it and thinking, I'm either getting shot or I'm going to off myself anyways. I'll buy the cheapest shit here. And I mean, at close range, a Full Metal Jacket, it will do damage. But like I said, these guys, and Clay and I have said this before when I was on Guns in the 701, if they really want, Full Metal Jackets or ballistic tips or something, but I mean, I don't want to give them any ideas to up their freaking body count. But yeah, we're supposed to be punished. Again, Democrats always want to punish. They always claim we punish innocent people. They do by punish innocent and law-abiding gun owners by not being able to buy cheap practice ammo. That's an overrun from our military. And then of course they banned, when Biden was in, he banned the importation of the cheap Russian ammo too for plinking. And it's just, what do you mean for plinking? It's cartels are using it in crime and so are mass shooters. Yeah, it's like I said, it's cheap shit in the close range. It's shit ammo. I mean, I have some, but it's used just for shooting steel. So I don't hunt with it. I don't shoot nice groups with it or do something like that. But yeah, thankfully the Republicans still have the House and the Senate, and this bill will go. I won't guarantee it, but I'm close, 99.9%. I will say this ain't going nowhere, and I would put money on it. President Donald Trump wouldn't sign it. And you Trump whiners, you get rid of Trump and you get somebody else, a Democrat in there, he'll sign this the second he get a chance to sign that, for sure. I will guarantee you that. So keep whining about Trump. If you just got on, I see we got more people jumping on. Let you know if it's coming up rest of the show. Background check numbers for firearms and such, February 2026 coming up next. Rhode Island grandfather gun owners. If you don't know what grandfathering is, hang tight. I'll let you know. They're getting a rude awakening there. Top 5 selling suppressors from February of 2026. That was from guns.com. And then 8:45, Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director, is going to be joining me. Talking deer numbers in North Dakota. Looking forward to that big time. And like I said before, Jeb planned on coming on before, but something came up. I think it was he didn't realize he had some kind of meeting, one of the game and fish meetings up in the northern part of the state somewhere. But yeah, Jeb will be on 8:45 tonight. Should be fun. We've got 3 more things to hit on here before, like I said, if we're still going through this when Jeb comes on, I'll finish it up when we're done. But I don't know. I think we'll get through all this before Jeb comes on. So let's go here. National Shooting Sports Foundation adjusted NEAC's National Instant Check background checks for February 2026. We'll compare that to last year's February. Here we go. Figure of 1,265,320 is an increase from last year, February 2025, of 3.5%. And those figures, adjusted figures, are 1,222,980. I mean, I could give you the unadjusted ones too, but I'm not going to go through that whole rigmarole. So that's good numbers. Sales, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I really don't have a reason for it. Maybe some people get afraid of, oh God, we're bombing Iran. Maybe I'm going to get a gun. Okay. I don't know. Some people might be afraid of ice. I talked about that, which is ridiculous to me, but whatever. And maybe it's just guys like me who like guns want to buy some more. So let's go. They also have the stats for the top 5 states for these for NFA checks too, and pistols and rifles. I'll give you that. So the top 5 states. Yeah, I mean, I always hear this, but I didn't think they would be number 1. Top 5 states for NFA checks, suppressors, SBRs, and what I talked about earlier, class 3. Texas, 27,986. Pretty good number. Second, Florida, 14,000. I'll just round these out. 14,600. And again, these are for NFA background checks. Virginia, which, right, like I said, we'll talk about that at the end. I'll tie it in with this other the one I'm going to talk to you about the wake-up call there in Rhode Island and West Virginia. I can tell you why this is happening. I talked about it last week if you caught the show. Gobs. The Democrats got the House and the Senate in control there now, and the governorship. Gobs of anti-Second Amendment infringements coming. So these people they're buying their guns up. 14,000 and their NFA items. 14,200. Georgia, 8,800, and this will kind of surprise me. North Carolina for the NFA coming in at number 5 here, 8,128. I mean, I know North Carolina Carolinians are, even though they got he's a Republican, Tom Tillis. I can't, the guy rubs me wrong a lot, but even though it's their governor is, yeah, whatever. I don't know. They're number 5 in NFA. Good for you, North Carolina. Keep it up. I hope you vote accordingly. So February, the figure for the NFA here, 209,023 is an increase from last February of 167%. Last February was 78,300. So that's way up. And of course, that wouldn't be going up. Thank you, big, beautiful bill. President Trump, Republicans taking that $200 off. Like I told you guys, I've already bought another can after that. And I am sniffing around buying. I'm looking at another 22 pistol. We'll see. Brown and George, we just like everything loud here. I don't. Brown and I don't. I love suppressed firearms, but 22, I can go 22s without them. I mean, if I got to shoot a deer without one on, which I probably never will again, but so, all right. Top 5 states adjusted NEEX checks: Texas, Florida, California is in there, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Yeah, PA, that's kind of a weird one too for me. Like I said, I know Virginia's in there. California, a lot of people get baffled. I mean, there's a lot of people in California that buy guns. And I mean, they got so many loopholes, but there's just so many people there that buy guns. And that was just for NEEX checks. We'll break it down a little more here. Handgun checks, top 5 states. Texas and Florida are top dogs on anything. Brandon George, you say something. Yeah, get a can so you don't ruin the rest of your hearing, brother. Top 5 states for FBI NEEX handgun checks: Texas, Florida, California, PA, Virginia. Man, and it goes the same for long guns. Top 5 FBI long gun backer: Texas, Florida, PA, California, and Virginia. And it should be noted that these statistics represent the number of firearm background checks initiated through the NEEX. They do not represent the number of firearms sold or sales dollars. Yeah, you can buy multiple guns under one check. Based on varying state laws, local market conditions, and purchase scenarios, a 1-to-1 correlation cannot be made between a firearm background check or firearm sale. Yeah, so it's a lot more than that, but that's just the base check numbers. I like seeing these. I think one time it dipped below 1 million since like 2020, and then I can't remember when that was, but whatever. I mean, I try to do my part, and I don't have like a bunch of guns like Clay or probably a bunch of you guys do on here, but like I said, I'm looking, and it's not that I don't want any, but I talk myself out of it because I basically shoot one of my guns most of the time, 223, and I mean, you're looking at it right here behind me. Yeah, I can't touch it, but I don't know if I get any other ones. It's just they sit in my safe. But we'll see. Impulse buys get everybody. So, all right. Speaking of assault weapons and gun sales, let's go. Let's see where we at. 820. All right, let's go. Yeah, let's go to Rhode Island here. The grandfathered gun owners just got a wake up call. So every time we hear this, right, an assault weapons or magazine ban, these politicians repeat that we're not coming for your guns. Nobody's coming to take your guns, which I think most of us know that watch and listen here on 701 Nation and the other gun shows here in North Dakota. We don't believe that. It's bullshit, right? Mostly our non-friends on the left say that. Or that if they do pass one, they promise current gun owners you can keep what you legally bought, right? And they call that grandfather. We're going to ban them, but you can keep what you got. You can keep your magazines. You can keep your assault weapon. We're just going to ban future sales, and that's what I was talking about. Virginia, there where they're buying them. The law that I talked about last week, the assault weapons. I mean, I always got to do air quotes. Ban and the magazine ban. It's on Spamberger's desk, past both their chambers. She hasn't said whether she's going to sign it or not. She's going to sign it. If she doesn't, I'll eat crow when I come back on next Tuesday. And that's what they were told in Rhode Island, and now they're feeding the same plate of bullshit here to the people in Virginia. It's Matt Simon. Any Walther fans in the chat considering a PDP for my next range pistol? I am a fan of Walthers. I do not own one, Matt, but if anybody's got one in the chats, yeah, give Matt a little feedback on that. I've shot some Walthers. Thought they were great, man. I got nothing. Actually, one of the 22s I was looking at is a Walther with a threaded barrel. But so, according to Washington gun law president William Captain Kirk, his name's William Kirk. I just threw in a kid. The exact scenario is now playing out in Rhode Island with House Bill 8073. The state, of course, they already passed an assault weapons ban a few years ago. I mean, you never really hear about it, right? Rhode Island, but it only prohibited the manufacture, sale, transfer, or purchase of certain firearms. Possession was left untouched. That was the political sell. Of course, that's what they're doing in Virginia right now, and not just Virginia, other states, but Virginia is the one where it's on the desk. The Supreme Court needs to get off their ass and quit passing down these assault weapons cases because it's freaking ridiculous. Every gun's an assault weapon that's been used in every damn war: a bow, a spear, an axe. All that shit's been used in war. But I mean, that's just their starting point, man. We've always said that. That's where they want to kick it off. But now, lawmakers are attempting to amend the existing statute, and I guarantee it's already being tried in other leftist-controlled states. It's by adding the word possesses. That's it. One word for the whole full law. They're going to add that to the sale, transfer, purchase, and possession was left untouched. But now they're going to do it too. They're going to do it because the Supreme Court won't stop them. So, it's just like when you don't discipline your kid or something, or you let criminals out 50 freaking times, like Spanberger's leftist judges did in Virginia, and he stabbed and killed that woman. And he had like 30, right? Now she won't turn the guy over. Bad Boy Outdoors, Facebook was acting up on me. I had to jump on here. All right. Is anybody else having trouble with Facebook? Just checking. I hope not. But Facebook's usually been doing pretty good for me, actually, other than when I got, their technology got me. Anyway, the current law reads there in Rhode Island: no person shall manufacture, sell, offer to sell, transfer, or purchase a prohibited firearm. House Bill 8073 would revise it to read: no person shall manufacture, sell, offer to sell, transfer, possess, or purchase a prohibited firearm. Yeah, and they're going to do it to magazines too. All right, Rick, how you doing, buddy? Good to go on Facebook. All right, thanks, Ricky. Appreciate that. Cousin Rick, by the way, if you're up at Capital City Restaurant Supply, Rick owns that. Him and my cousin Don, and stop in there, get some all your sausage making. Way more stuff than you think. Going up there, I say it's like the like sausage making and kitchen store of like the Sam's Club of that. You go in, there's so much stuff, and you're going to buy more stuff than you go in there looking for, and it's worth it too. I everything I bought in there, I love it, and I buy all my sausage making spices in there too. Anyway, good store, Capital City Restaurant Supply. The one addition would eliminate the grandfather clause and instantly criminalize possession of firearms that were previously legal to own. Yeah, just with the stroke of a pen. It's just so frustrating when it's like the ATF pulling this crap. If passed, the bill would take effect July 1st, which July 1st, I mean, Independence Month, really, for me. And that's the same thing Spanberger wants to do with these Second Amendment infringements in Virginia. July 1st, taken in our 250th anniversary birthday, not an anniversary, but our 250th birthday of the country. These dipshits want to pass all this Second Amendment civil right infringement. What a bunch of freedom-loving people. A compliance deadline, so that it will take effect July 1st. The compliance deadline, December 31st, 2026. By then, affected gunners would have to sell, transfer out of state, surrender, or destroy their lawfully acquired firearms. Only exemption, and this is another one that gets me here with this when they do this: military and law enforcement. The only ones who are qualified enough to own, when I say this, I mean, I know it sounds kind of dickish, but all of the military people I know, my friends and family and law enforcement, honest to God, they really don't shoot any better than I do. And when I say this, I'm being completely, I can probably outshoot half of them. I mean, that's, I'm not trying to brag, but when they do laws like this, like they're the only ones who can do it, can handle guns like this. And I'm sorry, you're not. You're not the only ones who can. There's plenty of civilians that can handle them just as good or better than you and shoot them better. I mean, Dan Brown. I know I can't outshoot Dan with a handgun. I'll promise you that. But with a rifle, I mean, I think Dan and I can hang with Dan. And Dan was he was a sheriff, weren't you, Dan? I think you might have been on the SWAT team or something out there in out on the western edge. My cousin Rick, I was just talking about, Rick was in the military. Ricky's a hell of a shot, but he's not any better shot than I am, and he's got to qualify with that. So yeah, he says a true statement, right? Like I said, I'm not saying that to be an asshole. I'm just saying it to be real, man, to keep shit real. So so Kirk, remember I was talking about this guy, Washington gun law, William Captain Kirk, points out that this is exactly what many Second Amendment advocates warned about when the original ban passed. Right. And I say that all the time. And, and people on get your camel's nose under the tent, which I said that to some younger people the other day. They're like, camel's nose under the tent? What's that mean? Small cuts, whatever, death by 1,000 cuts. That's what it is. That's what it is. And they can just sit on it, right? If it doesn't go away, they'll just sit on it and keep bringing up further infringement about it like they're doing. And in Rhode Island, they're probably not going to get a whole lot of pushback, man. It's a big blue state, big leftist state. So, which is unfortunate. Like I said, our 250-year birthday coming up. It is this year, and where it all started, they're passing shit like this. You think our founders and the framers would want shit like this being passed, banning freaking guns? I guarantee you, the founders and framers of this country would have freaking loved AR-15s. Oh, you guarantee that? Guarantee it. Grandfathering provisions are not permanent protections. I mean, nothing really is. Even when you get Supreme Court law, I mean, that's way more permanent than this would be. But I hate saying that it's not permanent, but it should be. But they exist only until the next legislative session, right? He also noted the timing. Just last year, the Supreme Court, and here's what I was talking about earlier about, declined to hear Ocean State Tactical versus Rhode Island. Yeah, even Rhode Island. I mean, a case challenging the state's gun restrictions. Critics warn that denial would embolden states to go further. Yeah, I just glanced. I promise you, I didn't read that as I was saying that earlier. Yeah, like I said about letting, you don't discipline your kids when they do crazy shit, or you let criminals off the hook in court 50 times. They go and do it again. And they're just like, nothing's happening to us now. Let's just keep passing more Second Amendment infringement. Who cares? Nothing's happening to us. For gun owners in the Ocean State, the message is blunt. What was once sold as a limited commercial restriction, which they're doing in Virginia, may soon become a full possession ban, and it probably will. And for gun owners nationwide, it's a reminder that when lawmakers say we're not coming for your guns, and I'm going to add this part in there, they're full of shit. They're full of shit, because they are. Gene Cox, a country founded with illegal guns is making guns illegal. Right. Dan Brown, Dickinson PD. Okay, I was asking Dan. Dickinson Police Department was on a SWAT team. Law enforcement should not be allowed to possess any firearms that non-law enforcement citizens can't possess. All right. Yeah, Dan, I mean, I'm on board with that 100%, man. Thank you, Dan, for putting that up. I appreciate that. And if you never met Dan Brown, awesome. Dan's an awesome guy. I wish more, more law enforcement guys should be like Dan. I don't have most law enforcement guys I meet, though, are pretty good dudes for sure. And I've stated that before. I really haven't had a problem with law enforcement. When I have, I probably brought it on myself by being a bit unruly a couple of times. So, hey, hopefully Dan makes it up when we do the pistol. And I did that. Actually, speaking of little handgun action, I'll talk here before we get into this last one. And the last one I'm going to hit on before we get Jeb on at 8:45 is 2026 top 5 suppressors sold at, I think it's guns.com. Yeah. And I do know a few of these I talked about. A couple of them, no idea, but I'm very interested in a few of these. So, yeah, we'll get into that. But, yeah, I know I told you guys about how my wrist, and I tell you it's going bad. I haven't shot handgun in quite a while. Axe and I went out and did that video. If you haven't seen it, we tested how the bullet, if it stops bullets as much or opens them up in a gel block, the 10% gel ordinance as it does in straight water. And we had like my cat litter, 6-inch thick cat litter, empty jugs. And we checked the video out. It did, man. I mean, we were like within an inch, but it was pretty damn close. It was at 200 yards. My 6.5 Creed at the 120 grain went 20 all the way to the back of the jug, 24 inches, and punched a little hole in it. Didn't exit, but pushed it out. Went through 16 inches of gel, and then we had a like the water cooler jug. We had it laying horizontal, and it went through the 16 inches of gel at 200 and blasted into there. Bullets opened up perfectly and left great wound channels. So we were going to do it to 3. Why didn't you do it at 300? Because the wind was blowing at like, I think it was like 16, gusting to 20. Well, I thought you were a sniper, JD. I'm not a sniper, but I took a crack at 300 once, and I was like, you know what? Let's just go 200. Once deer season comes around, you guys, and I have my deer load dialed in, hopefully I get an antelope tag too. We will do it at 300 at some point. I'll promise you that, and because we want to anyway. So, but the water worked just as good as the gel. We thought we're gonna get some bones. I think Troy, friend of the show, a good friend of mine for years, is going to get us some like rib bones. We're going to put it on the front, so we blast through some bones when we do these gel tests. So Brian Waters has had a Walther P22. Here you go, Matt Simon. Was very fussy. CCI Mini Mag or nothing. It would not cycle. Rem SR22 will eat anything I run. Yeah, CCI Mini Mag or nothing for me. I mean, I know I said this before, my all-around 22 round target, small game, self-defense, just from me and Axe, testing them for velocity out of handguns and rifles and into gel. CCI Mini Mag 36 grain 22. Even against their stated, these are our self-defense 22 rounds. Mini Mag beat them. If you get a Mini Mag, that just use that for everything, man. And a lot of people like the heavier ones, but I mean, even I did that test with my Winchester bolt action. I can't remember what it's called, 22 at the drop reticles in it. And I mean, at 130 yards, I think it axes. It was 100. I think it was 130. I mean, the little hug jugs, man, like half the size of this. What is this thing? 16 ounces, like an 8 ounce. I don't think they're 8 ounce. I mean, I was popping them with that thing. So those are accurate, man. They're accurate rounds. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the CC. I mean, SR20. Is that a Remington or is that a Ruger? You mean, Brian? I thought an SR22 was a Ruger. Josh Patterson says, and I was looking at these, Josh. I got a Taurus TX22. It'll eat everything I throw at standard velocity and high velocity. That's awesome, man. I'm definitely eyeballing one of those. And I seen they got like the fun triggers I was looking at. I can't remember the name of them, but well, like the FTR triggers or whatever. It looks freaking awesome, man. I love shooting 22s. But anyways, I was getting to, we shot some handgun afterwards. I was telling you guys about my wrist. Shot my 380. I think 3 mags through it. Man, my wrist is freaking killing me right now. Yeah, Brian says it was a Ruger. But I mean, I'm not shitting you guys when I tell you in like 5 years, I'm like handgun wise, I'm probably going to be stuck to shooting 22 and even a short barrel 22s that are a little more snappy. I mean, it sucks, man. It been a problem for me since I broke it, and it wasn't fixed right when I was 17. Multiple surgeries on it. I'm effed in the wrist department. That's just the way it is, man. I hope it doesn't ever get into my rifle shooting, but it's gonna. But to be fair, and I will say this, even though my wrist hurt, man, I was pretty surprised how freaking accurate I was with it. Not like Axe was. Axe shot it in, I mean, ultra fast, mag dumping like 10 yards on the silhouette on the head, just stacking them on there like one little spot. I know he's a good shot of pistol, but he was he was kind of eyeballing my Ruger 380 then going, Gene Cox says CCI standard velocity is consistent with my lever action, accurate and great. Matt Simon, my dad had a Ruger Mark II 22 when I was young. Great pistol for plinking. Yeah, and Matt, like the Gen, for lack of a better term, the Gen 2 Ruger Mark IIs, way better for like taking apart and cleaning. Way better. You just pop the back off and pull everything out. Like the Gen 1, my dad has one too, like the German Luger looking one. Complete pain and great pistol to shoot, accurate. I love it, but complete pain in the ass to break down and put back together. I mean, I'm talking like for me, I'd be like guns. So I'd take it down to Jake at Bloodline and go put this thing back together. I'll pay you whatever the hell you want. So, all right, before we get Jeb coming on here in about 5-10 minutes, we got one more here. Let's get into these suppressor sales. And I mean, if you're new to the show, we got some good viewership tonight. If you're new to the show, by all means, throw something in the chats. Love it. And I'll tell you, when Jeb comes on, we're pretty much going to talk deer numbers. I mean, if Jeb's never been on with me, and Jeb and I have been acquaintances for 20 years. If somebody gets on and gets ornery with them, I'm not going to read that comment. Jeb will be able to see them. If he wants to take one of those comments when you're getting ornery with him, that's going to be up to him. I'm keeping it to deer and deer numbers and a few other things I got concerning deer. You know, I'm not going to get into the whole CWD thing. I mean, if he wants to, fine. But if he doesn't, I mean, that's not my jam right now. But anyway, we'll let Jeb decide that. Let those that ride decide. So I'll tell you this, guns.com. This is their top 5 cans from last month, February 2026. Number 1, and I have used this one. I've said this. Hey, Dan Hager TV, how you doing, buddy? No problem. Better late than never, brother. Bad Boy Outdoors coming in there on YouTube. Wish I could post pictures in the chat. Yeah, I don't think that's even an option for us on Restream, but I've never seen it. Yeah, and sorry, man. I kind of wish people could do that too, but Anyway, number 1 is Sparrow. Speaking of 22s, and I've used this one. My buddy has one, and it is nice and quiet, nice and light. I think it's Silencer Co. makes this. Light, user-friendly rimfire. Does far more than just plink. The Sparrow 22 is rated for 22 LR, 17, 22 mag, and a 5.7 by 2.8, which I've shot Clayton's before. And I think Dougie's got like the bullpup thing, which is fun. That was really fun. It's 9mm, like that's funner. But yeah, design features, 2 half tubes that pull away, mono core. Yeah, I said that. Like the one I got, the Texas Island, it's a mono core, pulls in half. And then I'll say it again to you, if you got one, get the silencer cleaner solution. It'll save you a ton of pain trying to pull it apart. And number 2, I talked about this one. Top 2 are 22 LRs here, 22 rimfire cans, man. And the High Point Hush Point, I talked about that last week, debuted in late 2025. And I did look up a price on this High Point. I was a little disappointed in this one, actually. It's $250. I'm like, I think those Lyman ones are going to come in cheaper than that. I think they are, but we shall see. And not like 250s a ton, but I'm thinking more like 150, and they probably will come down after, they're probably making hay right now because $200 is off and people are buying them up. Like I said, they got me with one, but all aluminum, 22 mono core, same thing. You got the outside case and the mono core pulls out of the inside, and they're quiet, and mine's pretty. The Scoundrel I got's pretty. It's only like 1 inch. I don't know if these are a little bigger. I can't remember when I talked about them last week, but it isn't very long either. Mine's a little short. I think the Sparrow and this Hush Point are actually a little longer than mine. And like I said, mine doesn't hurt your ears, but it's pretty quiet. Brian says Sparrow is $299 and Shields. Okay, hey, not right, not bad at all. And like I said, I know that can's quiet. My buddy shot it we shot it on 2 different pistols and a rifle. I mean, these little putts out of there, man. I might be in on it. $300 for that Sparrow. Sounds good. Number 3, Banish 223. God's cartridge, of course, rated for 224 and smaller. The Banish 223 features a threaded end cap. Well, yeah, the end cap and removable baffle design. for easy cleaning and maintenance. So that must be like a monocore 2 thing. I'm not familiar how that one works. I know that Texas silencer company that I got mine from. I see Jeb's joined us here. Jeb, if you hang on tight, I'll be with you in just a minute or two here, buddy. I'll get heck with it. You know what? I'll get Jeb on here right now. Let's get him on and I'll finish talking about this. Let's see here. Jeb, how you doing?
Good, Jamie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. You want to hang on here for a second? I'm just finishing up this silencer talk here.
No problem at all.
All right, thanks, Jeb. So yeah, the 223 is this Banish one that came in at number 3. Like I said, it sounds like it's a monocore, can handle all semi-automatic and bolt actions. And it coming in at 4. I got another 22. It's called it's hard. I don't even know the name of this. I've never even heard of this. Anachoic Pipsqueak. It weighs just 1.5 ounces. The Pipsqueak is rated for, it goes all the way up. 22 mag, 17 HMR, 22 LR. So it's rated for, you can go 50 rounds of 22 through it as fast as you can, and it won't harm the suppressor apparently. And the last one, number 5, Banish 9K. And I do like 9mm cans. Dougie's got one. B9K, weighs less than 3 ounces. This thing's like super small. It'll fit in your shirt pocket, but still provides 26 decibels of sound reduction for your 9mm. No piston or booster required. That's quite a feat. Range testing, they say, proved this is capable as claimed. So it's discreet enough for EDC. I'd be interested in that. I don't know the cost on that, but Banish 9K looks, looks pretty sweet, man. It's printed, so it's printed titanium. I mean, that's one of the reasons it's super light, I guess. So, yeah. All right. So let's see here. We got Jeb. You still with me? I lost your picture there. There he is.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. Got special Jeb. You're actually the first guest I've ever had on my new 701 Nation show. Appreciate you coming on. Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director. As I said before, Jeb was going to come on, but he had a different scheduled meeting. So, Jeb, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. I appreciate the invite, Jamie, and
yeah.
Guest on here for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, Jeb's coming on and said you're going to hit on some deer numbers, Jeb, right? And I said in the comments, I said, if anybody wants to get ornery with you, I said, Jeb can see it in the comments. If you can take them if he wants. But we're kind of talking deer numbers here. So that's all I'm asking you about, Jeb. The deer numbers, deer tags. So you want to just give us kind of an overview of the deer numbers as you see them right now in North Dakota?
Well, I was just kind of laughing about that, Jamie, about, I mean, deer numbers, that's never a controversial issue and nobody ever has.
No.
I'm sure there won't be any comments at all, but I think, one of the things about deer numbers is, I mean, the department as well, Jamie. I mean, we'd like to see more deer on the landscape. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but I also want to, it's not all doom and gloom either. There are some areas that, have some nice pockets of deer in them, both whitetail and mule deer. Now, obviously there's some areas that are still building back up from a, pretty devastating EHD die-off that took place. And, I think about that. That was so I was appointed director in August of 21. Mm-hmm. And, and that was about the time when we started having a really bad EHD die-off. And so I'm great. This is great timing. Board, right?
Yeah.
And it hit in an area that in several parts of the state that it had never had EHD before. And so, growing up in the part of the state I did, Jamie, in the southwest part of the state, I was familiar with it, right? I mean, we grew up with it. It was one of those things that, happen every 7 or 8 years. And, there's certain parts of the unit that were hit pretty hard and then other parts that were not. And so you're just like, well, if you had a tag for that particular unit that year, you'd be like, well, don't go here, go to this part of the unit. And so, that was new for a lot of people in a lot of areas. But one of the things it just takes time. And, that's kind of frustrating sometimes for deer hunters in North Dakota and their department as well. But it just takes time to get that back. And we, in some of the areas too, that it was hit, I mean, along the Missouri River, for example, I mean, really pretty prime whitetail deer habitat.
Oh,
So not a habitat issue there. We know we have habitat issues for deer in certain parts of the state, but not in some of those areas. We have pretty good whitetail deer habitat. So it just takes time. It takes turning that calendar over several years. And, last year we had overall pretty low numbers of deer numbers, trying to be conservative, building, some of these numbers back up. And so far this year, and doing some of our aerial surveys that we've been able to do. Now, I will also say in years where we don't have much snow cover, we're not able to do a lot of winter surveys. And that's, I always say, as much as we like data and being able to collect that and those numbers, when we're not able to do winter deer surveys, there's a part of me that always says that's not at all bad thing, because that also means that we're having a pretty open winter and an easy winter on those critters.
right.
That's kind of where we're at right now, and hoping that, we can at least see some rebound in some of these units. And I think we are. I think we are in some of those areas. It's just a slow process, Jamie.
So when do you guys do the flyover?
Well, when do we do it, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we usually anytime, starting after the first of the year, when we get appropriate snow cover, because it's really difficult if you have patchy snow cover. So
Hard to see them.
yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, if you have consistent, snow cover on the landscape, which is usually 8 or 9 inches, or maybe a little bit more to make it consistent on there, then we're able to do those flights. And so, anytime usually between, mid-January or so and beginning part of April, is usually kind of that window. And so we do them when we can, and we have flown some units this year when we've been able to do that with the appropriate snowfall cover on the landscape. But then there's some units where we just haven't been able to do that. But again, like I said, with where we're at with the deer numbers right now, I would prefer a very mild winter on those deer than being able to go out there and do some flying, because in most of these units, we know what the answer kind of is, right? We would just like to see more deer on the landscape. And so we're going to continue to be conservative here for a while, to hold back on tags to try to rebuild in some of these areas. But there are some bright spots throughout the areas though too, Jamie. And I think that's always something that I think it's important to talk about, is it's not all doom and gloom. We get caught up in that as well too, and like, gosh, there's, our deer numbers are really down, and they are in some areas, but in some areas the numbers are surprisingly good.
And I mean, I'm guilty of that too, Jeb. Even I'll tell you, on our property, on our, my family, I don't know exact numbers, 1,500 maybe contiguous acres. We do have a great population of mule deer, and the whitetails started coming back. I mean, I saw on a regular basis 6, 7 whitetail does, and there is a couple decent bucks there, and I think half of the does got sniped out, but it does seem like they're coming back, right? And I hope, not only do I hope we don't get a big storm, and like you're saying, and we keep it like this, but if we get some rain and some nice cover for them fawns and everything this spring, that's going to help too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. And you look back at, last summer and last fall, even we had some really nice rains, across Dakota. And so, it's this spring, I think we're going to have good vegetation coming, when that time comes, and should be good cover on the landscape this spring and early summer for, like you said, when those fawns arrive. And, from some of our studies and research that's done, I mean, in North Dakota, obviously we don't have a lot of woods, but, some areas, certainly we have wooded areas, but, that the grassland cover, for a lot of things in North Dakota, but, for deer fauna is really, really critical and important. And so the better cover we can have during that time of year is, the better for fawn survival.
So I don't want to go completely off topic, but I did see you guys had like a coyote map, right? To go talk to landowners about coyotes on the Game and Fish website. I mean, because the coyotes are, honestly, they are. I've never heard or seen as many coyotes and on our property in my life, really. Luckily, we got a young man who's a neighbor, a young man to me, right? He's 32, but he goes out with the thermal and cleans them out the best he can. But I mean, he'll tell you it's hardly making a dent. There's so many of them.
Coyotes are an interesting critter, right? And nobody, they're not necessarily a fan favorite of a lot of people, unless, although you talk to some old, some older folks that have, I shouldn't say older folks, but people that lived in the prime of coyote, of the coyote market and did really well, right? And I mean, there were years removed from that. So there was people, and we still have, some real dedicated trappers in North Dakota too. But, at the end of the day, whether you dislike coyotes or whatever, you kind of have to tip your hat to them. And like, man, that is a critter that was designed to survive. You can pretty much do anything in the world you want with coyotes, and you're not going to put much of a dent in them. I mean, they have the ability to, to alter their reproductive cycles and produce more when their populations go less. And so it's like, there's been just everything in the world thrown at coyotes as far as, the effective nature of them. And, really what it comes back to with coyotes that is seems like about the only real impactful measure in North Dakota is mange. And, we get mange landscape about every 20 to 25 years. And, that's usually what is probably the most impactful with coyotes. Unfortunately, I mean, again, even though we're talking about coyotes, which not a lot of people have a lot of love for, you don't ever want to see a species of wildlife that, they're demised by disease, but you'd like to see that resource utilized a little bit. But they're a critter that was designed to win and survive, and they just do that. But you're right, it is something that their numbers are pretty high across the state right now.
And they not only survive, it seems like they thrive, right? Because like I said last year, I don't remember how many he told me he got, and people around there I talked to, they're big coyote hunters, and man, it just seems like it didn't make a dent in them. But whatever, I mean, that's the way stuff goes. Like you said, they're survivors, and so go on Game and Fish. I seen you guys got the map on there with little dots to contact ranchers to help them out with. I know Scott told me down at his place too, he can't get enough people down there to take out coyotes, which is weird to me, right? Because if I lived out at our ranch, I would be hunting them all the time, because there's not a whole lot else to do when you're out in the middle of nowhere, right? There's no B-dubs you can go to every night and watch sports and do this and that, and so I'm happy we got somebody helping us out take care of those. But what do you so we're in a decline, just a steady decline on deer tags getting right? Have they went up in recent? I know they've been going down, but I mean, have we had a blip where they jumped up at all? Are we still on the downward trend?
Well, we've kind of been on a bit of a roller coaster since about 2012 or so. We had, going back, it wasn't, again, not that many years ago, and right around 2007 or so, we were issuing a record number of deer licenses in North Dakota, 149,000 licenses. And so, after that was kind of the peak of, CRP in North Dakota, where we had a couple million acres of CRP on the landscape. And, now we're under 1 million acres of CRP. And so, a lot of grass has come off the landscape, which again impacts the carrying capacity of deer numbers and other wildlife numbers as well. The land could only, sustain so many critters. And then we had some tough winters in a row there that really brought things
big
back.
Ones.
And then we had kind of a rebound, and we, up until 2020-ish or so, 2021, we had, our numbers were, I think overall our deer licenses, were right around 70,000 in North Dakota at that point in time, and we were kind of on a climb. We actually, Jamie, in North Bismarck, north of Bismarck, kind of north of that Double Ditch area, we worked with some landowners up in that area because of too many white-tailed deer. And, we had a depredation season with archery at that point in time, because you're familiar with that area. There's getting to be more and more development up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, utilize
big time.
You can utilize rifles and those things. It's not that it's a non rifle area, but people just, there were some that just didn't have quite that comfort. And so that was one of the ideas to, working with those landowners, was to implement a depredation season with archers. And so that was going on. That went on for a year or two until we had that bad EHD die off in that area. And then obviously that, there's nothing like a good EHD outbreak to help with your depredation issue.
Yeah.
Definitely, went a lot farther than anybody ever wanted. And so that's, since then, now we've just been kind of hanging steady at around, anywhere from 52 to, 55,000 deer licenses in the state, which is low. You have to go back about 30 years to get to that number. And it's hard. One of the things too, Jamie, I will say, I always stick up for our big game biologists and our staff, because there's three people in communities, especially small communities, that really have a tough job. That's your local football coach, the county blade operator, and that's your local, deer biologist, game and fish department, where, everybody's got an opinion on how those things should work and what you should be doing different. And, it's a really challenging thing, especially in North Dakota, when we're trying to provide good, deer hunting opportunities for the public, but yet also having to take into, a lot of considerations we have for years very closely with, ranchers, private landowners that have, stored winter livestock feed supplies, where that can be a devastating issue for them in the winter time. And a lot of times with that, it does get challenging when you have more deer on the landscape. But, even winters like this, you're dealing with some people who feel like we have too many deer on the landscape when they're looking out and seeing, 75 deer in their livestock feed. And so, we try to work through, mitigation efforts with that by working with those producers and providing permanent hay yards, providing panels, movable panels, different things that can be more of a protective mechanism, in place for those folks for the future, rather than, you get all kinds of ideas from people that are like, well, just come out and we should shoot them, or we should truck them out of it. Things that's kind of like, well, again, those are Band-Aids, right? Even if you would do some of those things, it's like, how can we fix this? How can we work to fix this from a long-term scenario, if you think, and not just this year, but, maybe you have the problem again next year and the year after and the year after. How can you feel comfortable to have something as you move forward, to where you don't have to, it's kind of like the flooding approach, right? Do you want to sandbag every year, or do you want to do something, you want to put in a dike, that's maybe going to provide some long-term protection?
That was a good analogy you had of the three there, of the three, that's, I put that up there. Rick said right on. I just hit a few comments here. Brian says he's seen some larger groups recently than I have seen in years, which he's talking about muleys, mostly in Dunn County, but even in Stark County. So, and yep, Dunn County, I know Dunn County is a big mule deer. I mean, I used to hunt with my grandparents in Halliday, so that's Dunn County, right next to Mercer County, where we are now. Bad Boy Outdoors says freaking cockroaches. We were talking about coyotes. I mean they are, but I gotta admit, when I don't have them around to shoot too, Jeb, I kind of complain, right? Because I do enjoy shooting. It's just the way it is. So, Leon says armchair quarterbacking from people who like to bark about the operators of the road graders and that. Big herd here. He's out. Leon's out, and he's out in southeast North Dakota. So I imagine that's all whitetails. But I always get people in my unit, Jeb, in 3B2. Oh, we shouldn't. What do you say to the people who say, like, in a bunch of units we shouldn't even have like a whitetail doe season? I mean, I would put myself in that. We got plenty of mule deer where we're at, but the whitetails aren't. I mean, would you ever consider, like, in some units just not having? Because I know you did cancel. Game and Fish did cancel the muley does. Something happened to them there for, I can't remember, in a couple of years, and man, they came back like gangbusters. But I would love to see that with whitetail. But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's something that we have. One of the things I'll say about that is that whitetail, generally speaking, are, especially in situations where the habitat hasn't really been impacted much. And again, we have those parts of the state where it was impacted more by disease than changing factors on the landscape. And so whitetail deer are much more, reproductively capable than mule deer are.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
You get them in the, one of our big game biologists says, he's like, you get, you get the right situations and you could have whitetail deer, reproducing in Walmarts, but, but obviously there, it's one of those things that, it takes all the ingredients and, again, with the die-off that did happen, in some of these areas you're starting at a, at a pretty low area. And so, we always look at, Jamie, one of the things, and this, again, something we're challenged about, and I will be the first to say that, we're not perfect at it. But we try to balance, opportunity, on the landscape with what's necessary to rebuilding some of those numbers. And, in some of those areas, it's like, if a person did like totally reduce, some of those hunting up, some of those, doe opportunities, is that, that you're really taking, just that many more, potential hunting opportunities away for somebody that really wants to hunt. And so, again, what we're challenged with there is, it's like, all right, if we can't have some opportunities, with, again, obviously we don't want to issue everybody a buck tag in North Dakota. That wouldn't be popular either, just with does.
Right.
And just taking some does, but we feel like we can kind of do it both, right? Be very restrictive with some of those doe, with some of those antlerless licenses, while still building that population back up and still providing, a little bit of opportunity. But, we feel like that, again, that opportunity, we're down at 52,000 licenses. You subtract, 14,000 licenses off the top there that go to gratis. Again, that's, you're talking 38,000 people, in the lottery there, or 38,000 licenses in the lottery for about 80 to 90,000 people. And so,
right.
We just always try to balance that the best we can. And, do we get it perfect? No, we don't get anything perfect at the department, when we're trying to manage, this for the state wildlife resources, but then also the public as well. And so, but just trying to manage for some of those things is tricky at times.
Well, nobody's perfect, so yeah, it's, like you said, you're the grader operators there, and the snowplow operators. So yeah, I get that. I get that for sure. But yeah,
I think one of the things too is, again, that this is always in the back of our mind too, Jamie, when it comes to, working with, again, those ranchers that we talked about earlier, somebody that has that stored livestock feed supply, is that, anytime you zero out those deer licenses in a particular area, you still have somebody that at some point in time, that might be when deer season is still going on, or archery season, but it might be later too. I don't, it's hard to say, but if somebody is having some particular issues, we always like to try to use hunters as, first and foremost. I mean,
Yep.
You have an army willing and waiting to go help with a situation like that. And so if we zero that out, if we zero licenses out in some of those units like that, for the antlerless segment, then we lose that opportunity completely when we do get some of those calls from ranchers. Now, admittedly, in some of these, areas where deer numbers are lower now, we don't get as many calls, but they're still there. There definitely is still, examples of people that feel like we have many deer.
Yep, I remember, man, you were talking, I want to say it was like 2012. Man, I remember my dad on his haystacks. I mean, the whitetails were just like mice crawling all over them. We'd just go out and shoot the gun in the air and chase them off, because they'd defecate on the hay bales and pee on them or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I want to see it back to that point again. But I mean, I hope, like I said, they're slowly coming back, and I'm a guy who doesn't care if I like mule deer, right? A lot of people like whitetails better, but I like to see them around. So we'll see what happens, right? They are coming back a little bit. So, and like I said, I saw 3 out of the 7 that I always saw, and that doesn't mean they're not around there somewhere. You know what I mean?
Have you guys always at your place, Jamie, had a mix, or has it mostly been whitetail in the past?
I mean, when they homesteaded in the 50s, my dad and my uncle said it was all all whitetail, and the muleys are up by the river. Like, the river, then Lake Skakawea now, and yeah, and now it's mostly mule deer, really. And I mean, they keep moving east, which, like I said, I have no problem with. I love mule deer, and but it's nice to shoot. It's nice to shoot a whitetail, right? I did with my bow. Second one I ever got was and my first one I got, actually. It was hanging up in my over here in velvet, which is nice. So yeah, it's mostly mule deer now. So and I'm totally fine. We got Bad Boy says, before I go, thank you to all the new boat ramps across the state of North Dakota. I'm loving the new lakes to access. Until next time, have a great one. There you go, Jeb. See, even they like the snowplow operator here on this one.
Well, that's a great comment. Our fisheries guys have just done a tremendous job, with, expanding. I mean, people in North Dakota love walleyes, right? And
Oh yeah.
bonded the last number of years. And I just think of this as a kid growing up in Beach, North Dakota, that didn't have a lot of fishing opportunities, and caught more catfish in the Little Missouri thing. And now it is just so nice to have people have those close opportunities where you don't have to go to Lake Sakakawea and Devil's Lake. I always say, I wasn't fortunate enough to grow up with Lake Sakakawea or Devil's Lake in my backyard, or the Missouri River. We had the Little Missouri River and Camel's Hump and Odlin's Dam, and some of those places where you just go and have any fishing opportunity was good. But now it is really good across all across the state, with all of our prairie lakes, and managing a record number of bodies of water, in which we've obviously been blessed with Mother Nature giving us some help there with adding some of these bodies of water that are now able to be managed as really good fisheries. But yeah, it's been a phenomenal opportunity for people.
And I work with a guy who's a big fisherman, and his buddies are, I mean, on almost a weekend basis. And yeah, they've been just killing it in fishing the last couple of years. So yeah, I'm sure they're happy with it. We got another comment. Rick Rohn says, thank you, North Dakota Game and Fish does a good job overall. See, there you go. Hey, come on here. You're not going to get chewed out too much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't know if you can answer this question. My buddy, big pheasant hunter, comes out, been friends of mine for almost my whole life, but he says, is there any rules on porcupines? Because we do have a lot of porcupines at our place, Jeb, and we've been planting a lot of trees. And as you know, the porcupines the new trees, they'll just snip them right off. And I'm almost getting to the point where I enjoy shooting a porcupine as much as a deer. So, I mean, I don't know, what are the rules on porcupine hunting, if you know?
Yeah, we don't. They aren't protected in a way to where they're managed. Like it's interesting is porcupines in some states, and I don't know if this is still the case, Jamie, but it used to be in some states where they were considered a I can't remember the language or terminology they would have with it, but almost like a survival type species, to where they were protected in some areas, to where if somebody was stranded and needed some type of easy food source. A porcupine is obviously something that you could, that you could maybe catch up with if you're able to, climb a tree, or, or if you saw them on the ground type thing. But in North Dakota, they're not. People can harvest, legally take porcupines throughout the year.
I would say that's almost like a coyote thing for us at our place, Jeb. You think you got them, the pheasants season, the dogs come in and they actually get a different point on them. My buddy's dog has a different point on porcupines than he does birds, and we'll smoke them there. Otherwise, the dog gets a face full of quills, and then I'll go out and get them. And you think you got them cleaned out, and they come back like it just baffles you where they come from. But they're everywhere out there. Again, my dad and I were driving around, and they were just stripping the trees off. And same with the beavers too at our place. You think they're gone, and boy, they come back, and part of nature, I guess. And then we're gonna plant a bunch of trees this year. So
porcupines, that is, I always think of porcupines in the way it's, I don't know. There's been some occasions where I've gotten to a pretty good wrestling match with my dog, trying to get the quills out. I run flushers and not pointers, so that's so they don't run into many porcupines that they don't ever want another shot at type thing, and
yeah.
So there's been times where you had wrestling matches trying to get those quills out, or even had to go, this is beyond me. This is, I got it. I just got to go into the vet and get her sedated for a little bit and then just get them removed that way. So yeah, they they can be a pain in the butt in those scenarios.
I was gonna say, most of the time when we've tried to wrestle with them, I mean, you'd be surprised how a dog can get away from 3 grown men when you're putting, and I'm not talking small guys either. I'm be like the smallest one maybe, and then the dog gets. I mean, then you start feeling bad for him, but you can't just hold them down. But yeah, I ended up taking them to the vet, and they do that and sedate them. And yeah. So speaking of pheasants, what pheasants are looking? What's the outlook looking for pheasants here this year? Because they're looking pretty good at our place.
I mean, any time we can get through a winter like this is good, right? I mean, that's they no doubt that they probably wintered pretty well, but a really key part of the season for pheasants that sometimes is overlooked is the hatching season and in early summer. If we can get a good hatch on the landscape, pheasants can repopulate quick. You get the right habitat conditions in the right area, and then the right conditions during the the nesting season, which peak nesting season, peak hatch is usually right around the 20th of June. And so sometimes you can still get some cold, sometimes you can get a fair amount of moisture in there, but then yet you don't want it too dry either. So it's like you're almost kind of trying to be too picky on what you want there. It seems like it almost has to be perfect in a sense, but if we can get the right conditions this hatching season, this in that June timeframe, it's going to be a good year. And last year was a good year. There were some areas that you kind of scratched your head a little bit and went, gosh, I mean, there should have been more pheasants in this area than what I'm seeing. But then you're going to other areas and you're like, wow, this is really good. So overall, I think it was probably as good of a pheasant season that we had last fall in a number of years. And let's keep our fingers crossed that we have good conditions this spring and early summer during that the nesting and hatching season, where we can get some good broods out on the landscape. Because pheasants aren't they're not a long-lived bird, and it's if you can get the good reproductive success and get that brood size up there to 8 10 chicks, that you can make up some ground in a hurry.
Yep. And yeah, I know last year we had that nice spring and there was so much cover at our place. I mean, that helped out. You've been on radio before when I called in and bark about chicken hawks, but so I got this comment here by Eric says, should make fishing licenses go for the year from the day you buy it, not the way it is now. Wyoming does it from the day you buy for a year.
He's not wrong. That's been something that we've been looking at, and so yeah. So I mean, right now where we, for any of our, like our license season starts April 1, and
don't forget that's coming up.
Yeah, and so we allow people, so March 15th, people can start, they can buy their licenses on March 15th for the upcoming year, and but we've talked about it. There are a few logistical challenges there, but I think we're going to get there on the fishing thing to where it's like, hey, you buy it, in this technological day and age, we're in a much better position to be able to do that, to where that license, actually just goes a year. Whenever you buy it from, it's going to, it's going to expire a year from that date.
All right, Jeb, I got you for about another minute here. One more question. I got a pheasant one, if you will. When is the best time to take hay to save the pheasant nest?
So, we usually go by, August 1st, because that's well past the peak hatch again is, like around the 7th, anywhere from the 17th to like 25th of June. So we always say June 20th, but you also have that brooding period, to where that cover is still pretty important, for those birds, up until about, the middle part of July till the end part of July. And so, we usually go, like, say, for our managed areas, wildlife management areas and plots acres, it's an August 1st. But then if there's an emergency year when it comes to drought situations and, to where we, work with landowners, and we support it then for CRP haying on the 15th of July too, if the drought measures are met for that. So.
All right, Jeb. Thank you for coming on. I know you got to get rolling here, man. If anytime you want to come back on and talk about whatever you want, Jeb, you're more than welcome to. I really appreciate you coming on. I think we had a great talk here about the deer and some pheasant and some other things. And hey, if anybody missed the first half, it will go, Jeb. If you don't know, if about 2 hours afterwards, I got the podcast. It'll be up on anywhere you get your podcast. The podcast is up, so if you don't want to rewatch my and Jeb's pretty face on here in this section, you can listen to the podcast on there. So, yeah, Rick says thank you. I know we had a few other questions here. Sorry we didn't get to them, but I know Jeb said he had 30 minutes. He got home late. But Jeb, anytime you want to come back on again, you're more than welcome to, my friend, and appreciate you coming on, man. I think we had a good show here.
Yeah, no, for sure, Jamie. We'll next time we'll spend a little more time and cover a lot more ground. But yeah, appreciate the invite and happy to do it.
All right, anytime. Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director. First guest I had here on 701 Nation JD. So thanks, Jeb. You have a good one, my friend.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, everybody. Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. I know there's some other comments here, you guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to them, but thanks again for Jeb coming on. Had to answer some good questions there. We'll get him on again. I think Jeb will be back on. So you guys got anything else you want to hit on here before we light out of here? We got through everything we wanted to in the beginning, and I'll be back next Tuesday. I know Clay's talking about maybe when he comes back staying on Thursdays. If he does that, I'm probably going to permanently switch over to Wednesdays. I mean, Tuesdays have been going pretty good. I don't have nothing with it, but I just kind of like that whole peak of the week thing. Leon, let's see here. Brian's got a question. He said he was going to ask if there are any changes or plans in the works with the recent CWD findings that were posted. Josh wanted to know how that will work with combination licenses. And Josh says, great show again. JD, thanks, Josh. Appreciate that, brother, man. Really do. Hey, and if you guys missed it, got that, my Venmo's up there. That's how the show runs. If you're feeling generous, I'll take any donation you want to give. I'd appreciate it if you get on that regular on the monthly. Leon Francis, great show, brother. Thanks, Leon. And Leon, you're on Wednesday nights with some other guys. Rick says Tuesday is good. What's the name of your show again, Leon? Leon's on there with Mike Machenbacher. I think he's a representative in North Dakota, and a couple other guys. You're on at 6:30, right? Leon's at 6:30. I was watching a little bit of it. If you put the name of the show up on here, I'll mention it for sure. But John Rogal, you just enjoy talking guns and drinking booze. I do, John. There's 100%. You're 100% fact on that one, my friend. Yeah, Leon, you take food stamps? Yeah, one of the big bricks of government cheese, man, but you got to hand deliver that. Great show, Rick says. Talk to your cousin. All right. All right. Hey, I'd love to have Capital City Restaurant Supplies as my sponsor. Like I said before the beginning of the show, awesome store. Love it. Every time I go in there, great people. Not only that, you get good conversation with Ricky in there too, and all the people that work in there. I always have a good time. Hit that like button, folks, says Josh Patterson. Absolutely. Hit it. Hit that like button and share it if you want. At least when the podcast comes out, I don't know if you Due North Political Podcast, what Leon says. Yeah. And he's got Mike Machenbacher and man, I can't remember a couple other guys. Brian says, knocked her out tonight, my MVE brother. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. I felt a little nervous even. It's kind of weird, but whatever. Let's shrink that back down. You guys notice that I got my mule deer antlers back there, right? Here, I'll take this off, show you what's back. No, didn't work. All right, whatever. John Regal, would you take Leering Center credits for payment? I mean, if the Mollies let me cash her back in somewhere, sure. Whalen says Tuesdays are better for me. I have to watch later if they're on Wednesday's pool. Right? I mean, I'm actually getting more people that like Tuesdays, so I don't know. Maybe I will stick with. All right, Leon, Due North Podcast, Leon Francis, Perry Schumacher, Mike Machenbacher, and Ryan. I'm sorry I don't know Ryan's last name, but yeah, boys are talking some heavy politics on there. I was just catching a little bit of it before, and then my daughter didn't have a ride to practice, so I, had to check out and do that and get back here and get the show. But Yeah. Hey, my cousin Amelia. Nice. Thumbs up. How you doing, Amelia? Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate that. Appreciate it a ton. So yeah, you guys, I guess that's all I got. Like I said, next Tuesday I'll be back, 8 Central. I don't know if you guys, I did like having a guest on though. Even if it wasn't for the whole show, like I said, I want to get like a knife guy on to talk about making knives. And I mean, I don't know what you guys think. You like it when I have guests? I mean, it don't even have to be a guest for the whole show. Hell, that they can jump on like Jeb did. That was great, man. And I know I could talk some guns and everything. I mean, I've been around Jeb at gatherings with friends. I think I met Jeb. My wife went to college with his wife now. I do believe that's how I met Jeb. And I don't know. I get along good with Jeb. Jeb and I said we can talk guns and hunting and shooting and making saws. Gunsmith, Rick says, okay. Well, I do know a gunsmith actually. And knives work, says Leah. Yeah, and I know I said it before, but Mama Joe Warner gave me a number for a guy in Dickinson. I looked at his Facebook page. Makes some cool shit, man. I do wanna get myself a personal. I was gonna get like a deer hunting knife made, but my dad gave me one, so I'm probably gonna be using that one forever. Josh says, be cool if you could get Cody from Little Wolf Ironworks on. He makes knives. All right, good show. JD says, Whale and Turnus. Thanks, guys, gals. I appreciate that. It's awesome, man. It had some good show, good retention. Hopefully, it keeps growing. If it doesn't, yeah, I'm shutting her down. I want it to keep growing. I thoroughly enjoy doing the show and making the videos with Axe. And we did, like I said, we made some videos up. We're going to do that competition coming up. Looking forward to that. Not a handgun and a rifle one we're going to do. I think they're both going to be in May. Maybe the rifle will be in June. God, June's tough to do though, because man, summers are so short and precious around here. Everybody's got their shit scheduled out, and I do understand that. So Josh says he's from Bismarck. He was Forged and Fire champion, History Channel. Oh, no shit. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Brian says Cody Adolphson, Little Wolf. All right. Okay. Well, maybe I have to get a hold of him. Love to do that. I mean, I love talking about gun shit, but I like having guests on because I know it's not interesting just watching me babble every week. So you got to change it up, get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I'm totally cool with that. In fact, I'm uncomfortable on a shitty chair I got right here. I'm going to buy a different one. Lake time, says Rick. Yeah, for sure. Lake time. And I've been forgetting the people. But good thing at the lake, man, you can listen to the 701 Nation podcast when you're out there just chilling around the fire and having lemonade or one of these things I got right here. A rum diggity. All right, guys, 9:23. I'm gonna cash out here. We'll see you guys. Appreciate everybody watching tonight. Thanks again. As usual, I'm gonna try to get the new song up next week, or I'll put the longer version of this one up, but I didn't get a chance to upload it tonight. We'll see you guys next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Appreciate everybody. Hit that like button, hit that follow, share, and of course, scan that Venmo QR of mine and donate to the show, please. I really appreciate that one. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. JD, 701 Nation, episode 7. We out of here.
In stone, Second Amendment, we stand alone. Guns in our hands, freedom's call. Hunt the wild, never take the fall. Fire, lock and load, let them roar. Shoot 'em straight, Second Amendment score. Buckshot flying, deers in sight. Rock the range on the night. Yeah. Rifle raised high, one clean shot, watch a trophy fly. Targets down range, bullseye.